Okay, good evening, everybody. This is the Public Works Committee of the Common Council on June 4th at 2024. We'll call a meeting to order at 7:01. The roll call is I have Barbara Smith, Heather Dunn, Nora Najelski-Eitner. So we do have a quorum. And hopefully we have a couple more people that will join soon. Okay, seeing that we do have a quorum, we'll open up the floor for public content, public input, excuse me. The public is allowed to speak on any item that's on the agenda, but please limit your comments to 3 minutes per speaker, okay? Do we have anybody on the line?
Ms. Lartella, you are unmuted.
Good evening, Chairman Frayer and committee members.
Good evening,
Diane. This is my favorite council committee. For years, it's been my favorite. There's a lot to unpack here, but tonight I wanted to listen to two items on the agenda, the stormwater management plan, I think it's number 6, and also the report under the first item on info and discussion, the RFP related to the residential solid waste and recycling collection services. But before I comment briefly in my 3 minutes, I'd like to just request that there be a change in the wording before your Tuesday full council meeting. It's been customary practice when you have contracts such as item 3A, Grasso Inc., and where you'll have 3B, there used to be the word contingency in each of the, I guess it looks like 10% of the total. And in item 3B and 5B and possibly 10B, there is no such word as contingency. Because that is not a, giveaway. It's only, there are certain, I'm imagining, certain standards that must be met for that extra 10% to even be allowed to be expended. So I'd like that to be discussed and changed. Also, when we talk about the issue of item 6, which is the stormwater management plan, I'm here tonight to find out what is the current status of this plan. Has it been submitted to the state, DEEP? I don't know if Cynthia Bauman, the consultant for CDM Smith, which is a company I very much like. I have read this stormwater management plan on and off for several years. And so I'm interested in seeing, has this plan the draft been submitted to the state? There are certain steps that must be met, and I want to, by the answer to my question that will let me know before Tuesday, I will get in touch with you, Mr. Chairman, if I find the answer not to be of concern. I also wanted to add number 7, the Woodard and Curran flood remediation work. When Anthony Carr was the Public Works Director, I had implored him to try on the Woodard and Curran flood remediation work that they've been doing for us over the years, and it's been terrific, that there be an inclusion of green infrastructure, including vegetative buffers when they do the flood work. So not just pipes, but also green superficial infrastructure and vegetative buffers included.
That's 3 minutes, Diane.
Okay, and I will wrap up just by stating, in the RFP of the solid waste program, currently the state of Connecticut is going to be issuing any day now an RFP that is Public Act 23-205, Section 13, C as in car, number 7. It is a materials management infrastructure grant that will help our town possibly catapult into modern waste management practice, because, for instance, the food scrap pilot program needs to
That's,
stop.
you're over 3 minutes now, Diane.
Well, I appreciate you indulging me another 10 seconds. I would like to see the pilot program to end and that this goes to bid because it is too expensive. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do you have anybody else for public comment?
No, we do not.
Okay, so we'll close the public comment at 7:06. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Does anybody have any comments or changes to the minutes as provided?
Jim, I didn't see them attached. Are they part of what you sent us?
They were part of the agenda. They were with the agenda. They followed the agenda.
Yeah, I read the agenda, but I didn't see it in the in the thing. It doesn't
Did
matter.
anybody else miss it?
You saw it? Okay, I'll just abstain
I got it.
unless you need me.
Okay. So are there any other comments on the minutes? The only comment I had on the minutes was on I think on page 4. In the second paragraph, it refers to Chairman Frayed. It's Frayer. Should be F-R-A-Y-E-R. That's the only change I had. So all those in favor?
Jim, 1 second. On the minutes, I don't know, when they spell my name, they spell it with a capital J. Can you just note that it's a lowercase j? I know it's minor, but please.
Okay, thank you. And also, can we just note that Dewan, Mr. Wiggins has joined the meeting. Okay, so
Ms.
all
Young
those in
has-
favor?
Ms. Young has joined too. I see her.
Okay, Ms. Young. Okay, thank you. All those in favor of the minutes as amended? Show of hands. Ms. Smith, okay. And one abstention. Heather, are you abstaining? Okay. So one abstention and 5 in favor, 1 abstention. Okay, thanks. Item number 2 on the agenda is, we'll read it. Is authorize the mayor to execute any and all documents necessary to accept a 0.0122 acre stormwater drainage easement over 7-9 Glenwood Avenue, Norwalk from Glenwood Avenue LLC. And 2B, I'll read it together if we don't mind. 2B is 8-24 referral to planning and zoning to report acceptance of the 0.0122 acre stormwater drainage easement over the 7-9 Glenwood Avenue, Norwalk from Glenwood Avenue LLC. Do you have a motion on that? So move, Ms. Nadjelski-Eitner. I think we have, this is an improvement of sidewalks and curbs to provide ADA and to enhance the ADA access in preparation for paving of this road. It's pretty straightforward here, and we're just looking for easements from the owners of the property. Does anybody does anyone, I'm having a little trouble talking today. I don't know what it is. Does anybody have any comments or questions on this matter? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's unanimous. Thank you. Number 3A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement between the city of Norwalk and the Grasso Companies LLC for project RD 2024-3 curbs and sidewalks for Beacon Street for the sum of not to exceed $1,070,580. accounts so noted. I'll also read 3B that goes along with this. Authorize the Chief of Operations and Public Works to execute orders on the contract between the City of Norwalk and Grasso Companies for the project RD 2024-3 curbs and sidewalks for the Beacon Street and sum not to exceed $107,058. Accounts so noted. This is this is a paving project.
I'll move that for
And-
you. I'll move that for you, Mr. Fryer.
Thank you. I'm looking for Mr. Meehan, do you have anything to add to this?
Yes, this is not a paving project. This is actually a sidewalk project in preparation for our upcoming paving. This road is scheduled to be paved next cycle, and we would like to we're trying to improve the pedestrian corridor and amongst all the complete street programs that we have. So we are going to be installing sidewalks, curbs, drainage structures wherever needed, as needed in preparation for, as you said, Mr. Frere, in preparation for any upcoming paving the project that we have.
Okay, great. Any comments? Any questions? All those in favor? Appears to be unanimous. Thank you. Next on the list is number 4, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Reeling, to execute an extension for a 1-year agreement with Rocco Idarola, general contracting company for project TMP 2023-1, decorative crosswalks and traffic calming surfaces at various intersections for an amount not to exceed $150,000. I'll add to that B, or B, authorize the Director of Transportation, Mobility and Parking to execute an extension for a 1-year period for 1 year orders on contract with Rocco Idarola, general contracting company for project TMP 2023-1, decorative crosswalks and traffic calming surfaces at various intersections for the amount not to exceed $15,000. This is a TMP project, and I believe we have Nathan Franken. Nathan, are you on? I thought I just
Hi,
saw-
yes, I'm here, but Greg is actually presenting this one.
Okay, I'm sorry, Greg.
No, all good, Mr. Frere. Thank you. And thank you, council members, for having us here tonight. So this
Sorry to interrupt. Can I just move the item, please?
Uh,
Just want to make sure it's okay. That's all right, Jim. I just don't want you to get, caught up with a problem.
Okay, thank you.
so
I have trouble
originally-
reading them, right? Much less moving them. Okay,
So originally, this bid was advertised last May in 2023, and the council approved the original contract in June of 2023. So it's a 1-year contract with 2 1-year extensions attached. So we're here tonight to request the extension of the 1-year extension on this one. So this contract utilizes the installation of preformed thermoplastic material that adheres to asphalt and concrete surfaces that enhances safety and aesthetic appeal to streetscape products. The result is a concrete paver-like looking pattern that's MUTCD compliant and also at a much lower cost than concrete pavers. One of the key advantages of the preformed thermoplastic is the durability. Engineered to withstand heavy vehicle loads, harsh weather, and UV exposure, and it lasts the lifetime of new pavement as well. So you don't have to constantly keep maintaining it. So the cost for maintaining them is very low cost. Last year we utilized this contract to install over the top of a race crosswalk on Union Park, which is along the NRVT trail. So we utilized that, which looks like that brick pattern. And it's a non-slip, it's a slip resistant surface as well, and very retroflective. So very visible for pedestrians and also for vehicles approaching the crosswalk. So we would utilize those crosswalks and that surface treatment at higher volumes pedestrian and vehicle as well. So we're eyeing to utilize this contract this year at around Fox Run Elementary School with some of the new crosswalks, especially since Phillips Street around Richards Avenue was scheduled to be paved later this summer as well. So we're looking to do some additional work this year utilizing this product, and we're looking forward to doing more of that around the city and really enhancing the streetscape around those higher volume corridors and higher pedestrian volume, especially around schools and other high traffic areas.
Great. Is this a new product that we're introducing, or is this the same product we've been using for the last couple of years?
It's the same one. It's we have within the contract, we have 6 separate materials that we've utilized. One of the materials was used in the Calf Pasture Beach project, and also the Rainbow Crosswalk as well is one of those services as well that was done a few years back.
Okay. Any other, Ms. Smith?
Yeah, I just have a question. So it's generally going to be that like brick looking type of crosswalk, right?
Correct, yes.
It can be other colors.
It could. We've usually stuck with colors that stick out and also that are more in line with the current city standard as well for crosswalks. So kind of like more of a reddish, like a brick reddish color, clay red, I believe. So we try to match that. That's consistent with the city standard.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Number 5, authorize Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute an agreement with Burns Construction Company for project TMP 2024-05, Tracy Magnet Elementary School multi-purpose driveway / trail for an amount not to exceed $396,940.90. Accounts so noticed. And 3B, authorize Director of Transportation, Mobility, and Parking to execute orders on contract with Burns Construction Company for a project TMP 2024-05, Tracy Magnet Elementary School multi-purpose driveway / trail for a contingency amount not to exceed $39,694.09. Accounts so noted. This is a very interesting project that many of the residents in the area have asked for.
Jim, may I move that real quick before you?
Thank you very much. I was so excited about this project that I neglected to move it. So
I very much understand it. It's an exciting project.
it is an exciting project, and it's been in the works for a number of years. The residents in the area are very excited about, or were very concerned about, the queuing up of cars, dropping and picking up kids, not being able to get out of their driveways, etc. So to share the excitement with us tonight is Nathan Frankhall.
Hi,
Nathan.
everyone. Thank you for the introduction. Also, I was going to go through the history, but you covered it for me, so thank you. If I could just share my screen real quick, I'd like to just go through our design that we came up with our design consultant, Fuss & O'Neill.
Thank you.
Everybody see?
Yeah.
So what you see on your screen is the existing field behind the school. This is the school right here where my cursor is. And then this is their existing parking lot. So essentially what our design is to do is to create a asphalt surface around the perimeter of the field connected to the existing parking lot to allow cars during pickup and drop-off hours to queue up around the perimeter of the field, which essentially allows basically all of the parents, whoever's picking up and dropping off, to be completely inside of the school's property and not spilling out onto Camp Street, where we had been receiving complaints from the local residents And we worked really hard to not only get this in on time to be in construction this summer and to be before you today through the past 6 months, but we've coordinated with the Recreation Parks Department as well, and also DPW to create a drainage design that incorporates rain gardens and other green infrastructure to keep any possible drainage contained within this site boundaries. And as you saw in the agenda, I attached as well a bid breakdown of the 4 bidders who bid on this project, and we are looking to award the project to Burns Construction in the amount of about $396,000, which was within our budget. And like I said, we're trying to be in construction this summer, so we worked really hard throughout the winter, the previous winter, and then also the spring to make sure we could be before you today to get into construction while the kids are out of school.
So Nate, how wide is this?
So the actual width of the trail is 12 feet, and then it's also 1,000 feet long, which will allow about 40 to 50 conservatively additional vehicles to queue up, in addition to the existing parking lot.
Mhm. Is there any other use that we? Or
Yeah.
Any other?
Yeah, definitely. So the project is actually called multi-purpose driveway / trail. So in off hours outside of pickup and drop off, we're proposing to install gates here that can be open and closed as necessary to close this off for pedestrian activities and extracurricular activities that the school would like to have during school hours. Like I said, the project the trail is about 1,000 feet long, so 5 times around exactly is 1 mile. So the school can use that just as an example of an extracurricular activity during gym classes or something like that.
Ms. Nadjelski-Eitner, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you so much, Chair. This is fascinating, and I'm really intrigued by the multi-purpose nature of it, and I really appreciate the efforts to coordinate with the school, with the Parks and Rec, with DPW to really make sure we're all kind of thinking about this. Are there other schools where a solution like this? I mean, I'm fascinated. I've never seen anything like this, but intuitively makes a lot of sense because this is a problem we certainly have heard and encounter.
It's funny you mentioned that, because coincidentally today we actually went out and looked at Jefferson Magnet School, who has a similar overspilling traffic queue. That one's a little bit trickier. They don't have as much property as the school does, and obviously this field is actually owned by the city. It's not owned by the school. So Parks or Recreation Parks was generous enough to allow us to potentially, if it's approved, to put the track around the perimeter of the field. So we're obviously very thankful for that.
Yeah, I know it's a really interesting solution. So my other question is just, what account is this getting funded out of? Because I don't recall having seen this in the budget.
I'm not sure I know that off the top of my head. Greg, if you're there, you might actually know that
I believe
better
this
than I do.
was, so the design and the construction was awarded from well, actually, I guess this fiscal year. So last July 1, it was awarded through capital funds for this project.
Okay, so it was
Yeah,
in last year's capital budget.
Right,
Yeah,
I checked. I checked that earlier today, Nora. It's in the budget now.
Terrific. Awesome. That's great. I just didn't remember having seen it, but maybe I didn't recognize it because this is a cool idea that did not necessarily connect with the description. So fabulous. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ms. Smith, you have a comment?
Yeah, I just want to add my comments that this really is quite an ingenious solution to a problem that, I know that this is a problem, traffic's a problem around a lot of our schools, but Tracy in particular is, the spill out onto Route 1 where there's already a choke point there. Mhm.
Mhm.
It's just been a real troubled spot for so many years. So it's just absolutely ingenious. So thanks for thinking, outside of the box, to the
Mhm.
whole TMP department. Yeah, I do recall this being, 'cause this has been in the works for quite a while.
Yep.
Several years, so at least 2, maybe 3. So I was aware of it, having been approved last year in the capital budget. So, yeah, thanks for this great work.
Thank you.
And from what I understood also that there might be chances of bicycle, I guess the bike commission has Mobility and Bike Commission is looking at the possibilities of using this for teaching bicycle safety and bike riding lessons and so
Yeah,
forth.
definitely. It'll still be a public park, so really whoever wants to use it. I don't know that there's there's been, excuse me, I can't speak, that there's been a definitive setup of the bike lesson stuff yet.
Mhm.
But it's certainly a possibility.
But it's a great venue for it.
Right, it's protected in the back of a school and
Yeah.
not on a public street, so.
It's always great to see something like this. It's exciting to see how creative that you guys get. So, Ms. Nadjelski.
Yeah, just one other quick question. What's the lifetime of a surface like this?
It would be similar to that of a normal road. It's just going to be asphalt like a normal road would be.
Okay. So like probably a 15-year life.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, it's not going to see a crazy amount of traffic like a normal road would.
Right.
Would just be, during pickup and drop off. So I'd expect it to last even longer than that, really.
Okay, terrific. No, thank you. And and
Mhm.
shout out to DPW too, and to you all for the drainage. I'm really glad
Yep.
that we're putting an impervious surface, but also managing it. So thank you.
Absolutely. It was definitely a collaborative effort. So we're very thankful for the other departments that chipped in and helped.
Great. I'm sure they're not going to do any Formula One racing on that, so it should last for quite a while. Great work. Thank you, Nate. Brings us to number 6 is authorize the mayor, Harry W. Reeling, to sign the stormwater management plan prepared by CDM Smith to certify the submitted. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Sorry. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mr. Wiggins, you in favor?
No, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna oppose it. I'm just gonna abstain.
Okay. So we have 5 in favor, 1 abstention, or 5 in favor, 1 abstention. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, number 6. Authorize Mayor Harry W. Reeling to sign the stormwater management plan prepared by CDM Smith to certify that submitted information is true and accurate in accordance with the section 22A-6 of the Connecticut General Statutes pursuant to section 53A 157B of the Connecticut General Statutes. Do I have a motion? Ms. Nadjelski, thank you. This has been, we postponed this from last month, and the staff has provided copies in the package. Does anybody want to bring any questions up on this? Has everybody had a chance to take a look at it? I guess some people may not have gotten a copy of it, but does anybody have any questions? I see that we have Ralph Kolb with us, and I think he might be able to address some of the comments that we may have. Or, you know what, why don't I just, before we do that, Ralph, would you mind just giving us an overview of what this is all about?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Ralph Kolb, WPCA. I was one of many members from the city. The stormwater management plan was prepared by CDM and a city team that consisted of Public Works, both the DPW engineering, DPW operations, recreation and parks, WPCA, planning and zoning, code enforcement, health department, and conservation. So we did get a lot of input from everybody to compile this plan to put together. Ultimately, this plan follows the Connecticut Deep's stormwater permit, and it identifies 6 minimum control measures. And with the BMPs, we follow a implementation schedule and ultimately goals. So that's what the report identifies over the next 5 to 10 years. Once we get this plan or the approval from the board tonight, and this can move forward through the city process to obtain the mayor's signature, we can then ultimately submit it to the state with everybody's signature. So that's the goal.
So Ralph, this is more of an iterative process, isn't it? I mean, we submit this, they get back to us, we may tweak it a little bit, and we go back and forth with the DEP on this.
Yes, probably they won't come back and forth too much with the city, because it is in line with the permit that was set out by the state. What this plan does, as things change or if the permit changes or amended by the state, we're able to amend this plan. This is the plan to manage stormwater or MS4 in the city of Norwalk.
And then this would be this is the pathway to eventually possibly establishing a stormwater utility, if we would. Similar possibly to the WPCA.
Yes, that would be like a phase 2 component. So MS4, the state's stormwater permit, is a requirement for all municipalities. So this plan is in accordance with that permit and meets or allows the city to meet the state's permit and requirements.
No,
If the city chooses to go down the path of entertain a stormwater utility, that's another phase, and then they could incorporate the plan and the permit and the program.
Okay. As part of this, is CDM continuing to do the survey of all the outfalls, and what are there, something like 1,500 outfalls in the city?
Correct. Right now we're doing a pilot program. I think it's about 150 total outfalls that they're sampling during dry weather.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any? Oh, I see. We have a couple of comments and questions. Ms. Nadjelski,
I think Ms. Smith was before me.
Yeah,
Ms.
thanks,
Smith.
thanks, Nora.
Sorry.
Ralph, when is the last time we had an updated stormwater management plan with Deep?
2004.
2004. Okay. And so this is a recurring process, and we are just, we're updating everything to current codes and requirements.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Thanks. That's it for now.
Thank you, Ms. Nadjelski.
Thank you.
Nadjelski.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Kolb, there are sort of a number of requirements related to kind of public participation, public engagement, public education in this plan. I was curious if you could speak a little bit more about that. That's one of the things that's a little bit more in our wheelhouse than some of the technical stuff. How do we go about educating people about the importance of sort of their practices around their home, around their businesses that really impact our stormwater quality and risks?
So to answer that question, it is a multi-department effort. So like conservation has information on their website, Public Works has information on their website about stormwater, and even WPCA has information about inflow and infiltration. Don't put it into the sanitary sewers, put it into the stormwater system. We're also going to be working with CDM to continue the public education and outreach program in future years. Public Works annually has a open house, typically in September, October, and we have a great time. CDM comes, Harbor Watch comes. We have some other entities that participate along with the Public Works team, and we try to educate public that way. And we have about 2,000 or so folks that come through annually during that event.
And I've picked up both your coloring book, which is adorable, and some of the flyers from Harbor Watch. So I'm very much aware of that and appreciate that event. I think it's terrific. But I do think this is, an area where it would be an opportunity to do a little more messaging. I think that DPW has done some good work, on their Facebook page and elsewhere of just trying to get out some of their messages. And I would really encourage you to think, and do a little bit more. I really have to admit, I was educated by some of the stuff I learned at the open house. And I think that it is, people don't think about their pet waste. People don't think about emptying the heads on their boat. People don't think about, their septic system. It is literally out of sight, out of mind. And I think changing that mindset, would be something, it could be a very valuable educational process. So I just encourage you to think about that. It did seem like it was a part of the plan that DEEP really has as at least one of the 6 priorities, and it would be great to do more.
Agreed.
You bring up a good point, but one of the things I should mention is that if you operate a boat in the state of Connecticut, you have to have a Connecticut Safe Boating Certificate, and that part of that 8 hours of instruction that you get focuses a lot on what you do with your waste on your boat, helping out your head, what you throw into, what you're allowed to, not allowed to dump anything in the water. So that's a fairly severe fine and revocation of your boating license if you get caught doing that. So, but that's a good point. And I think we could probably always get another reminder on that. I know a lot of the boaters that I talk to kind of raise their eyebrows when I talk about that subject.
Or they got their safe boating certificate 40 years ago and haven't thought about it.
It's true. That's before they had heads.
We have a strong and passionate voting community in this city that many of them have, I think, been doing it for a very long time. So this is a good time of year for updated reminders.
Yes. Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mr. Wiggins, 6, 7. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Rolf. Okay, number 7. Authorize Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute a 6th amendment of the Woodward and Curran Agreement dated August 12th, 2019 to provide professional engineering services for flood remediation at specific locations in accordance with the Professional Service Task Order 24-1 dated May 21st, 2024 for sum not to exceed $166,000. Account so noted. Mr. Meehan, do you want to comment on this?
Yes, so as stated in the
Could I perhaps move the item before Mr. Meehan starts?
Yeah, it's just driving me crazy.
caught me too. Sorry.
You got a
You
lot of
must
sun
have
now.
been out in the sun. You were out in the sun too much today, Jim.
I think I was. Jeez. Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Meehan. Go ahead.
Right. So there's an existing contract that we have with Woodward and Curran. They're investigating major areas of flooding in particular sections of the city, and we have asked them to give an addendum to add another small area. A lot of this stuff that they're doing is all dependent on each other. They're doing major portions that are all connected to each other, so you can't really resolve a lot of the major issues until the particular ones are resolved first. But this particular one happens to be an area around Glendinning to Cannon Street. There have been a lot of reported of a lot of flooding in both the roadways and on private properties. And the consultant feels that they're able to do something to remediate some of that flooding. So we've asked them to, we would like to have an actual addendum to the contract to ask them to come up with designs for the system.
Hey, Ms. Smith?
Yeah, I just want to add, this has been on the, it's been on the list for years. So I just, this didn't just come out of nowhere. I remember when I first started chairing Public Works when Anthony was here, and he took me on a tour of all the locations around Norwalk that, were a focus of remediation. This was on the list. So I'm glad to see we're finally able to get to it. And then, you know, I know this is just, it's an outrageously expensive prospect to get to all of these sites, and we can only do so many, but it's good to see it getting done.
Mhm. Any other comments, questions? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Number 8, authorize a purchasing agent to authorize a sole source purchasing order for Tesla for the purchase of 4 Tesla Model Y cars for a sum not to exceed $200,000. Account so noted. Do I have a motion? Okay, Ms. Najelski, thank you. Okay, this is a great deal that the department has gotten, is that it seems like a very good deal. I think the mayor was trying to try one of these out just recently. So it's a good opportunity for us to start moving further and further into the EV area. Does anybody, Ms. Valadares, I see you just
yes.
joined. Do you want to comment
Yes.
on this?
I would love to. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry, I cannot be participating in the meeting all the time, but I'll be here for a couple of items. So I'm very excited to be able to put this item today in front of the committee. As most of you already know, we're trying to make now the greenest city in Connecticut, and we are trying to electrify our fleet. For those that are familiar with the market, it has been a little bit challenging to find electrical vehicles and also availability on them. So we have been researching for some time. We have already some hybrid cars in our fleet, but last year we also acquired our first small utility truck, a small one that we use, that we are now actually using at the beach. But this one will be the first full electrical vehicles that we are trying to add to the fleet. We look at the options not only related to price, but also availability, and Tesla ended up coming the most available and also on a very good price range. So that's why I would like you guys to take in consideration and move this forward. Thank you.
Any questions? Ms. Najelski, do you have any comments? Yes, you do.
I
What a
want to
surprise.
express my gratitude, Ms. Valderas, to you and your team. I know this has been a tremendous amount of work trying to figure out the right vehicles and how to do this, but I am very excited about moving this forward. You know, it is particularly given that our fleet largely operates on city streets at low speeds. This is, you know, so much more efficient than gas cars in these kind of situations. So I think this is tremendously useful for the city. I think it's a great step forward, and I know it has been a multi-step process to get this worked out, and I'm really grateful, and I'm excited, and I hope everyone has fun driving them.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, all those in favor? Dwan,
Gonna oppose.
opposed?
No, well, abstain.
You're going to abstain. Okay, so 1 abstention, all those, the rest in favor. Okay, thank you. Number 9, authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute the First Amendment between the City of Norwalk and Teague and Bond for project DPW 2024-2, on-call construction inspection observation services for amount not to exceed $466,000, billable on an hourly basis. Accounts so noted. Mr. Meehan, do you want to take this one?
I'll move that one for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, so as you know, we received quite a lot of grant money to do major stormwater improvements over in the Heather Lane, Lockwood Lane area, which a number of houses experienced very bad flooding. So we were very fortunate that the bids came in well, lower than what we were being granted for. So this project will require professional inspection services, and we would like to utilize the accounts noted there to bring in Ty and Bond, who fortunately were also the designers for the team. So they're also on our contract right now to provide inspection services, and we like to retain them for this particular project.
Any questions, comments?
Just very
Jessica,
briefly to say, hooray for something coming in under budget. I love it. Thank you, team, for always looking out for opportunities. So that's good news.
That's great news. I think that goes to say a lot about how conscientious this department is about funding. So congratulations, that's great. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to 10A. Authorize Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute an agreement with B&W Paving and Landscaping LLC for purchase project 4366, building BLDG 2024-1, paving of Ben Franklin Kendall Elementary School, Rowayton Elementary School, facility parking lots, base bid, and paving of DPW operations facility parking lot alternate 1 for a sum not to exceed $336,640 base bid plus $80,650 and 10 cents alternate 1. Accounts so noted. I'm going to add B to this. Authorize the Chief of Operations Public Works to execute orders on the contract with B&W Paving and Landscaping LLC for purchasing project 4366 BLDG 2024-1, paving of Ben Franklin Kendall Elementary School and Rowayton Elementary School facility parking lot base bid, and paving of DPW operations facility parking lot alternate 1 for a sum not to exceed $41,724.01. Accounts so noted. Do I have a motion? Ms. Smith, thank you. So I asked for a motion and then everybody hesitates to make a motion. So I'm sorry, Mr. Meehan, can you comment on this?
Yes, well, again, there are certain roadways separate from our own roadways itself, but the schools requested that do paving on one of their parking lots, and we incorporated this along with a section of our own that does need our own lots need to be paving, but we're sort of budgeting that as we go along. We love to pave all at once, but that's going to be a little more cost effective to just do this in particular sections. So we're including this with the project over here, and these were our lowest bid. And Burns Construction is B&W Landscaping. They were the low bidder. They seem to have everything intact for that. So
okay. So does alternate 1 mean that that's the one that you can the additional one that you can fit in on this particular go round?
I can answer that one. Actually, what happened was that when we put the bid together, we knew that we had the money already for the whole base bid. We were finalizing the capital project, and we didn't know if we're gonna first have the funding. So we started making as an alternate, and we didn't know if the number will come close to our estimate. So when you bid with and you add as an alternate, gives you the option that you don't have to rebid if the price comes higher than expected. So if we made everything as a base bid, and at the end the parking lot was higher or we didn't get funded, we'll have to rebid the whole package. So making as an alternate, we knew that we already had the money for the schools, and we would definitely award that, and the alternate will be based on funding and cost.
So in other words, if we have enough money after everything is done, we do the alternate one.
Right, and that's exactly what we did with the next item, is the same thing.
Right.
When we bid it out for the following, we did with 2 options, with an asphalt sidewalk. I'm sorry, I'm jumping for the next item, but I'm
No,
already
it's the
explaining the
same
use
thing.
of the alternate. yeah, or an alternate 1 or 2, and then we can decide upon receive of the prices how we're gonna do the agreement.
Okay, great. Ms. Smith, you have a question?
Yeah, I noticed that the contract states that the work must be completed no later than September 30th. And you know, 2 of these schools, Kendall and Rowayton, will have students you know, coming to school much sooner than that at the end of August. Is there going to be an effort to get those done in
The
time?
schools will
Well,
take
this
priority.
is-
So-
Yeah, no, yes, exactly. So thanks, Mr. Mian. When we did the base bid, we put separate dates. The full completion of the contract should be by September 30th. But there is, when you go through the whole bid, you would see that the 3 parking lots of the school has special dates and needs to be finished before beginning of the school year.
Okay, thank you very much.
No, good question.
Okay, any other questions, comments? All those in favor? Six. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, 11A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with the Grasso Companies LLC for purchasing project 4367 PM 2024-4, paving at various locations, base bid, proposed sidewalks in Richmond Hill Road, McAllister Avenue, Francis Avenue, alternate 1 and 2, for a sum not to exceed $710,650,000.50. Base bid plus $383,700, alternate number 2. Accounts so noted. 11B, authorize the Chief of Operations Public Works to execute orders on contract with the Grasso Companies LLC for purchasing project 4367 PM 2024-4, paving at various locations, base bid, proposed sidewalks in Richmond Hill, McAllister Avenue and Francis Avenue, alternate, for a sum not to exceed $218,870.10. Accounts so noted. Do I have a motion? Ms. Dunn, thank you. Mr. Meehan, do you want to just, I assume this is pretty much the same as the as number 10. You want to add anything to that?
Yes, every year the state gives us a certain amount of funding and grants to do our paving projects. But it's based on certain factors. It goes through each year, so the exact amount varies each year. So these are the roads that we're using to utilize to pave for this particular grant money, the CHRO money, and in addition, to keep along with the whole complete street concepts what the administration is attempting to adhere to, we are looking to also add some more sidewalks along there as well as part of this project. So most of the funding over there will be the grant funded from the state itself.
Great. Any comments, any questions? Okay. All those in favor? I'm sorry, Ms. Young, did you have a question?
I was trying to be efficient and I didn't move the cursor and I hit it too fast. So I'm sorry.
Okay, so you want to, okay,
There we go.
all those in favor?
I was raising my hand. Yes.
1, 2,
All right, I did
3.
actually have a question before.
Oh,
Sorry, just to
Okay.
very
All
quickly
right.
double check. The math of 11A and 11B is not totally making sense to me. It looks like the 11B contingency is more like 20% than, which would be is higher than
It
normal.
is.
Double checking, but that's
Yeah,
correct.
and it is, and we
great.
may, and the reason for that I can explain, and I'm glad that someone is paying attention here. What happened is that usually, most likely, we always add just 10% on our contingency. The idea for the alternates for the sidewalk came after the fact, and we really need to put this bid out because we have a certain timeline to be able to use this money. It is a requirement from the state, and we haven't totally designed the sidewalk project. So because we do not know if that we're going to find any unforeseen conditions, so sometimes we can find some rock excavation that we didn't consider and all that. What we did, we are adding 20% more on contingency because we do not have a full design on the sidewalk yet.
Okay, great. Thank you. That makes tons of sense. Just want to double check.
No, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Mr. Wiggins? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, and go into information and discussion. The first discussion item was refers to the RFP for the solid waste and recycling collection services. Ms. Valderas, do you have time to comment on that? Give us
Yes,
an
I
update,
do.
should say.
Yes, I just need that Mr. Zabel, he has a little presentation, couple of little deck that we put together that he share his screen. And
Okay.
so he'll be operating the screen on my behalf. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Okay, very good. So again, thank you, everybody. The reason that we'd like to add this item for discussion is because we want to give you guys an update of exactly where we are with our disposal of solid waste strategic plan and also the RFP for the solid waste. I just want to go back a little bit and explain for those that are new, what happened was that Wind Waste, that used to be City Carding, had our contract for the last 10 years. And what we ended up doing was do a 2-year extension with them. Because this way, and we are actually exercising our 2nd year extension as of July 1st. You guys approved that in the last meeting. So this way gave us time to be able to engage a consultant, help us really look, have a very holistic look on what we're doing with our disposal of solid waste, and also see if we need to do many changes to our new RFP. So the RFP ended up going out not last Friday, but the Friday before, and is expected as of now to come back on June 13th. So I just want to give you guys at least an idea about what we have been doing so far and what we have been asking on this RFP. If everything goes okay, if we don't need to, the idea is to probably have the new vendor approved in front of the board for you guys to approve on the July meeting. The reason for that is that was still going to be almost a year before they start taking control of the new contract, but because of trucking issues and understand the operations, we want to be on the safe side and have enough time. So let me just jump in the first slide. I just want to remind everyone that the consultant that we hired was Neogen. They have been doing a fantastic job. And also we created an advisory committee to be able to help us through the process. So as part of this committee was our Public Works Chairman, Mr. Freyer, Ms. Smith, Mrs. Shanahan, both Common Council members, Tom Livingston, the Chief of Staff, Tom Zabel, that is our Waste Program Manager, Chris Thor, Public Works Superintendent, and myself. Tom, you can go to the next one, please. So what we ended up doing was we really engaged Neogen, right, to assist with this strategic plan and help us on how we would procure the new vendor. So there were a lot of steps on their first task. And what you're seeing on the screen is what was this task one, right? So there were a lot of kickoff meetings, what we were looking for. They first have to really understand everything that we have been doing. That is, I'll be honest, even for us, that is staff, we had to go back and forth a couple of times to really remember everything that we do and how we do. And then identify what could be changes that would benefit the city and evaluate if those changes that the committee was even considering, if the industry in general was doing, and what would be the benefit of it. So what happened now is that we pause our strategic plan right there, because part of that is related to the finances of it. And when I go to the next slide, you're going to understand what I'm talking about. But again, one thing is identify what can be beneficial for the city, but the other is what is the cost associated to it. So that's why we pause, and now we are with the RFP out, because the RFP, we are trying to really get some of those prices that will help us in the future be able to make those choices. So the advisory committee met a few times. We also, our consultant interviewed the Zero Waste Committee that they had a meeting back in March. Also, they reached out to some haulers to interview the haulers to try to understand how they were operating, even people that was the ones that doing service for us, but some others that were working the area. And also there was some benchmarking with similar cities in size throughout the country, and also in Connecticut. So in this slide on the bottom right, you can see which ones were there. I think we can go to the next one. So besides that, there was also the task 2 of New Gen, right? That was really to help us on putting the RFP together. And we did pretty much all that when we are now on pretty much the package. And as soon as the bid comes out, they're gonna look into it and help us evaluate the cost and come up with one that would be proposing who the city should consider for awarding the contract. So as I mentioned, the bid was advertised on the RFP was advertised on May 24th, and as of today, we're expecting June 13th to be the deadline. So now, next one, please. So what is really important now to understand? So what is on this RFP? So pretty much most of the core work is not going to get changed now. So for you guys to understand what we have now, we'll broke up in 4 areas, right? We have the garbage, we have recycling, yard waste, and bulk waste. This is all related to the collection system. So I want to talk first about the collection system, and then later I'll talk about the transfer station. Because pretty much the changes would only affect the collection system part. So as of today, the city offers a collection service for garbage once a week. It is made manual. Manual means that we have 1 truck with 1 driver and 2 laborers in the back throughout the 4th taxing district. The 4th district is pretty much within a certain boundary who has sewer connection or potential sewer connection to it. We do have a whole map of that, and that represents about 17,000 to 17,500 units. Let me just go on what we have as of now. So another thing that we are offering as of now is, of course, recycling, and that is once a week, and it's citywide. Yard waste, we have been providing also within the 4th taxing district, and twice in the spring and twice in the fall, just to have an idea where it is happening this week. And we have about 150 to 160 stops. And bulky waste, we're offering twice a year, also within the 4th taxing district. So what we are proposing to do within the collection system. So what are the changes? The first change that we are proposing under garbage is that we want to really standardize what will be the garbage cans that we are calling now carts. If we ended up standardizing the carts, it will give the hauler the option to use to drop the manual pickup. So they can use trucks that has one arm, so it can be, or not. So instead of us deciding on how they're gonna use their fleet, we are doing, because we do understand that sometimes to change all the fleet now, we're like even hire new trucks, those one-arm trucks, it can take some years. But what we're doing is we're gonna make everybody has the same type of cart. What is the other benefit of having the cart is that in the future, we're not proposing now, but in the future, if we start changing the way that we're gonna charge for solid garbage collection, it can be charged based on number of carts instead of just taxes. So in other words, if we position ourselves of using carts, we're gonna have more options on how to not only negotiate on how we're going to end up charging, and also have a better idea on limiting the amount of solid waste that we can have from each house. So this is one of the major things that we are changing. The second one is really already getting prices to see if we're going to really go citywide with solid waste. There is a lot of requests for some areas that they really, besides they would prefer to go with a residential solid waste citywide, with the exception of the 6 taxing district. And what we're doing, we're gonna get a price, and then there will be a price, and will be up to the Common Council and with some public input to see if we're gonna end up extending citywide, again, with the exception of 6 taxing districts. If we ended up extending to the other areas, we do not anticipate that to happen until at least July 2027. And the reason for that is that we'll give the vendor at least 2 years to really get familiarized with the routes that we have a very good transition, understand what they are doing, and then they can take over of new routes and new customers. In regards to recycling, we're not proposing any changes. And the yard waste, we do ourselves. For yard waste and bulk waste, we have our own trucks with our guys that are doing the work. So what we're trying to figure out with the price is to reevaluate to see if it is cheaper to do in-house or to have a third party doing it. One thing that is happening now is that all the time that we have a yard waste collection or a bulk waste collection, other work is not being done in the city because it is limited the amount of labor that we have, and we use them all year round to do a lot of things. So when we have the crew working on bulk waste, so some potholes on their day are not getting filled up. We are not trimming some of the trees. So that's why we're trying to understand what will be the cost if we give that out, and then we can refocus on the regular work of public works without being short-handed. So other things that we have included in this RFP, based on a lot of feedback that we have been getting, is we want to looking for ideas to reduce the contamination in recycling. So we added a little bit of a language there where the new vendor will have to be able to sampling few things, and at a certain, I believe that once every 6 months, so we can understand where we're going to get some contamination and what have been on the recycle. And this will help us with our public outreach because we can make it more target to a certain area. We are also seeking ideas to expand the composting. That will be part of the whole master plan. Mrs. Lauricella stated at the beginning of this meeting that there are a lot of things that is coming up, and we are aware of that, and that's why we want to leave room for that instead of being a pilot program, something that we can really establish as part of one of our programs in the city. Another thing that we are doing for sure is we're eliminating the current opt-out option for garbage. if you are within the 4th taxing district, as of today, you have the option to opt out, meaning you cannot use the service. What we learned after doing a lot of research and have Mr. Zabel driving the routes, driving the trucks in the routes, is that a lot of people that actually opt out still put their trash outside. And it's very hard to the driver to really know, oh, okay, this house actually was an opt-out. So we believe that if we eliminate that option, it will make fair to everyone. And another thing that we are asking is also the hauler will have now other reporting requirements that we are asking through this RFP. Another thing we are doing is on the transfer station side, we're not doing any major changes to it. They have to maintain, operate. The only thing that we are adding is another line for some capital improvements, because there is work that needs to get done as maintenance, and we're going to have already that cost as part of their contract on a yearly basis. Another difference between the last contract and this one is that we're giving the option to the vendors to bid in one or both. So which means you can just bid on the collection part of it, or you can bid only on the transfer station operation, or you can bid on both. So far I think that I know this is kind of quick, but this is pretty much covering everything that is on that RFP. I have to say that for those that want to read the RFP, it is available, it's a public document. It is on our website through the bids and purchase that goes out. I think I'm very proud of the team. We work very hard for a month to try to really cover a lot of things, and I know that I'm just giving a 10-minute explanation, but I think that we put together about 60 pages, very technical, and we try to cover a lot of things in this RFP. I'm open to any questions, and I think that's pretty much what I have for this presentation for now.
Thank you very much, Ms. Valladares. And I understand where you are, and if you can stay for a little bit longer to answer some questions, really would appreciate it. But we'll certainly understand if you have to back out right away. Okay, so does anybody have any questions, comments? No, I'm sorry, Ms. Najelski.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrer. And thank you very much, Ms. Valladares. And I really appreciate you, making this work given your complicated schedule. And I want to start by thanking you and your team. I have looked at the RFP. It is a massive document. It certainly is very thorough. I think it raises a lot of good questions, and I know it has a tremendous amount of planning and thought that went into it. I think that my concern on the front end here is partially just communications with this committee. We started talking about this more than a year ago when we decided to extend the current contract. And my understanding at that time was that the waste management plan would come to this committee, potentially more than once, that we would discuss it, but we would think about strategies before any RFP went out. And so I am concerned about not just that not happening, but also the failure to update the committee as you're thinking about that process changed. I've asked about this multiple times over the last year, and this is the first time that I understood that the RFP was being put out before the waste management plan. I understand some of the reasons that you wanted to do that, but I do think that this is the whole point of doing this extension, was to allow us to have substantial public conversation about waste management in the city. And I am concerned that doing the RFP first, cuts off some important part of that process, to have a conversation about what we're going to be doing with the waste management after we've selected a vendor. you know, gives us a lot less flexibility and a lot less ability to really have this committee, and again, the public hear this conversation, consider these options before we go forward. So, you know, that I think is my concern at this point. And I'm certainly happy for you to sort of provide your thinking about the scheduling and how this played out, because I do think it's an important conversation for us to have.
No, I understand your position, and again, I think that was, um, as I talked to you before, I believe that with the fact that we had the advisory committee, you know, I think that we had that conversation, that channel open. Again, the whole plan, and Eugen will do a whole presentation also to you guys as soon as we have the numbers, and see also to help you guys on major decisions that needs to come in the future out of it. On the RFP, as I mentioned, what we're doing, we're just planting the seed, but there is no major changes. So we can either stay on the status quo as we are, or we can change the way that we're gonna start collecting the solid waste. And I do believe that we put ourselves in a good position for that, but the council, also the public, will have still opportunities until all that is implemented.
Yeah, let me just add something to that too. I think the committee that was put together went through the mechanics of how the RFP, a lot of what you just showed, Ms. Valadares, was reviewed with the coordinating committee. And also, I'm under the impression that the bids have to be submitted fairly shortly, but that doesn't mean we select the vendor at that particular time. And I think, as you've mentioned, is that the information that we get from the RFP is going to help us to make that selection. So it's an integral part of it. And I don't think anybody was under the impression that the RFP was going to go out and its selection was going to be made the following day or the week or the month or whatever it is, that there was other work that had to be done during this thing. So I also don't believe that, you know, on a regular basis that the council would, and I might be wrong. I mean, this is the first year I've been on the council, so I don't believe that the council and any other departments gets involved in the construction of an RFP. It sends it out before, you know, and we don't all sit down and go over an RFP and say, I want this in it, I want that in it, I suggest that you do this, I suggest you do that. You know, pretty much we would leave it to the experts. We have meetings and we're told what's going on during the course of the process, and it's up to the experts, which we pay pretty good money to our department heads to, and expect them to understand what the industry demands are. And so I don't have any problem with the timing of how this went out, and the fact that we didn't have a thorough analysis of the RFP before it was actually submitted. Ms. Nadjelski, any comment?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Fair. I think the point that I'm trying to make is what we typically do is have the plan in place before the RFP goes out, right? So the public input portion should be done, in my opinion, typically before the RFP. So for instance, with the parks master plan, right? That is a master plan that was developed with a lot of community input that then guides what will be a number of RFPs coming out of that plan. So that had been my understanding of the process that we were intending with this waste management plan, was to do the public planning process first. Now, I understand from Ms. Valadares the need to better understand some of the numbers involved, and the relative costs absolutely will impact the decision making. But I think that it is, typically very valuable for any project to have some agreement on the goals and vision before you really if we haven't had a thorough discussion of the goals and vision before we're looking for vendors, then it may be that what we're asking of the vendors does not reflect the goals and vision that the committee ultimately has and that the council ultimately has, right? The entire point of doing a planning process before a bid is so that all of your bidding requirements reflect what the council wants. Now, it may very well turn out to be the case that when this plan finally comes to us, it does reflect what we are looking for and that we are therefore feel like it does, cover the territory. But there's a reason that the process typically happens in reverse, in my opinion. And that really is my concern at this point, is just that, there may well be that there are thoughts and concerns from the council that are not reflected in this plan. There may be shifts in our priorities. I think there's a number of us who have a number of different concerns. I quite frankly think that there are a number of areas of the city that were not reflected in this advisory council that may have substantially different issues of concern than the council members who sat on the advisory committee. And that's part of why a planning process like this ought to be done in a city-wide manner before a bid goes out, in my opinion. Again, not every time. I'm not trying to make a blanket rule, but that was my concern here. And again, I also, my belief was, prior to this, when I found out that the RFP had gone out, my belief was that that was the process we were doing. That was my understanding of our conversations from last year about the process here. So that's all that I'm raising here, is that it is a concern for me. I also think that this process, with the goals of having the advisory committee and then the RFP and then the plan, that could have been laid out to this committee months ago and should have been laid out to this committee months ago, right? We have talked about the waste management plan as a thing that is in process for some time. And I do think it's valuable, again, for the public to also know what to expect, right? Our role here, our space here, is largely a conversational and an informational space, right? If it doesn't come in front of a public meeting, there's not going to be any press coverage of it. There's not going to be any announcements. There's going to be nothing for people to know about, right? And that, to the end of the day, a lot of the function we serve is simply to elevate the fact that something is happening. And that, I think, is a piece that could and should have been done a few months ago in a way that I think would have been beneficial for the residents. So that's my only thinking on that.
Ms. Smith?
Yeah, I have a few comments. I want to concur, Mr. Freire, with pretty much everything that you said. And Ms. Nadjelski, I hear your concerns. I think that, being part of this process, the citywide garbage pickup has been something that's, been it's been an initiative of mine almost since I got on the council. And so it's just such a very, very, very long process. And it took so many years just to get to putting this committee together. And I think, from my perspective, I think that it was really important that this preliminary work was done, that we did get the report from the consultants who were really doing all of the research and looking at best practices and throughout other cities before that information could come to us. Otherwise, we don't have the facts to give to the public, right? And so I think, it's just been a long process of the consultant getting this work done and reporting back to the committee. And so I think that that's something that's important to remember. And that this is still, even at this point, in its infancy. This is going to take years. Vanessa, what did you say? We're like 2027, we will, be starting with baby steps. So, there's going to be a great deal of public outreach between now and then. So I think sometimes you just need to get the, the preliminary work done before you're ready for prime time, before we're ready to put that information out to the public.
Other comments? Yeah, I'd also like to, I think, Mr. Nadjelski, you just mentioned how the Parks and Recreation put together a master plan before going ahead, and then it's going to generate RFPs beyond that. I think this is a little bit different situation here. We've got existing contracts out there. It could very easily have been that we say, okay, let's just renew this for another not 2 years, we'll renew it for 10 years. I think the fact that we're going, there's a lot more educated now, that we're understanding what the other alternatives there are out there. And now the next step is that we want to price it out through the RFP process. But, we know what we want. We know what the master plan is. The master plan is that we want to collect solid waste at the most efficient manner and at the lowest cost. We know what the goal is. We know what we're trying to get to, but we're not going to know how to make a final plan until we know what the vendors are capable of doing and at what price they're going to be able to do it. And I think that's where I think that in conjunction with the outside contractor that was employed and the committee meetings that took place. Now, I got on this a little bit late, but that was over the course of a year, and I think that everybody that was involved in it was representative of either the city or the different various areas of the city that are affected by solid waste collection. So I think that I like the plan the way Ms. Valderas put it together. I think it's efficient. I think it gives us flexibility, and we're not, we're not hiding. Nobody's hiding anything from the city. Nobody's trying to keep it a secret. Any other questions or any comments? Okay. Not being Ms. Valderas, we'll let you go. I know you're kind of not a great place right now. So
yeah, and I'm sorry. I wish that wasn't my plan until Sunday to be like here. But anyhow, I appreciate it.
I certainly hope it wasn't your plan.
Yes, but anyhow, I appreciate that everyone understands. No, again, I'm really trying to make in a way that it's always transparent. So I'm sorry that you are feeling like that, but it is not really the intention, as we talked before. And I believe that as soon as we'll be able to work this through, and again, the goal is to serve better all our residents. And I think that as we mentioned, I think that understand the costs associated to it is a key thing. So that's why we ended up taking that way on the RFP. I will leave you guys. I know that you guys are in good hands. You still have a couple of discussion items. I'm available probably this week. It still may be a little bit hard for me, at least the next couple of days. So feel free to reach out, but give me just a little bit of time to respond. But I'll be in touch and back in Connecticut soon. Thank you so much. Have a good night,
Okay.
everyone.
Thanks,
luck.
Vanessa.
Take good care, Vanessa. Take good care of Luca.
Thank you.
Our best wishes to him.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, moving on, tree operations programming. First, oh, there he is. Mr. Torrey, do you have something you want to share with us?
Just that we removed 28 trees and 18 trees we pruned in the public right away. The backup that you have says March. I think I gave Monique the wrong backup. But the correct backup is 28 trees for the month of April and removed, and 18 trees pruned. 1 tree in the parks property and 17 trees in the city right away, and 23 trees removed in the city right away, and 4 trees removed in the parks property and 1 in the school property.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Chris or any comments? Okay. Thanks, Chris. Thank you very much. My favorite subject, solid waste. Tom, you're available. Want to give us an update?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So starting with our solid waste update, one thing, the transfer station tonnage is up slightly more than we typically see. So one thing I've started working on to kind of make sure we're keeping an eye on that is making sure our weightmasters and everyone involved at the transfer station, as well as even the city garbage collection, is really monitoring what we collect and making sure we're collecting the correct amounts, and everyone has their current disposal passes at the transfer station and things like that. So if we continue to see this, I'll continue to kind of look into it and research further.
Right.
And that's it for the solid waste. The compost, it's still running pretty standard. I know sometimes in the warmer months it tends to go down. People are busier with activities and just general life. So as long as we're kind of seeing that 7 tons per month, I think that's good and stable. And over the past year, we've seen it well above 7 tons per month. So I think we're seeing some good steady growth there.
Are we making any progress in South Norwalk area, or do we have any plans to? I mean, we're doing incredibly well in Cranberry and Rowayton, but some of the other areas of the city that I know that you've got some plans for, but anything that you can share with us?
We don't have anything too new or planned at the moment. I know one thing I've started to think about with Cranberry Park is a lot of folks that are kind of on the edge of our eligibility for collection. Those folks may already be going to the transfer station. So if they're going there, they might bring their food scraps with them. So maybe we're only seeing half as much as we might if it were maybe in the center of the city's garbage pickup. But it's sort of a difficult thing to accomplish in Connecticut with the regulations that all the compost drop-off sites are required to be like a staffed location. So that's a challenge and something that kind of puts a little more cost on it as well.
I didn't realize that. They have to be a staffed location?
Yep.
So I have a question, Chair.
Ms. Young?
So thank you for your report, Mr. Szabo. So are you saying that in order for there to be some sort of service in South Newark, you would need a site that would cost?
Yeah, so in order to have a drop-off location with the designated food scraps toters, it has to be at a location that's manned or staffed by the city or some other entity. And the state has that regulation so that it can kind of be monitored for either contamination or anything, raccoons getting into it, and make sure it's a safe and clean site.
And so we don't think that there are any possible solutions or ways that I don't know, to change that.
Yeah, we've been kind of holding off. We would like to see some more growth at like the transfer station and Rowayton a little bit more before we commit to another drop-off site. And that's one of the things, once you get some folks very involved with it, some folks, as you know, are very passionate. It's hard to kind of take it away, even though it is a pilot program. And it's something that I think in the future we should kind of, maybe with even the plan, we kind of look at ways we can commit to enhancing it. That way there it's strategic and can be as cost effective as possible.
Yeah, South Norwalk is growing, so I think I think that's just something that just has to be considered.
Okay.
So when you say it has to be manned, though, does that mean there has to be somebody there 24/7? Because in Rowayton, you don't have somebody there 24/7.
Yeah, so it only has to be during the available hours of it. So like maybe for instance, like Fodor Farm, I'm not sure if someone is there for the whole day, but if we wanted to maybe look at having like a morning hours or evening hours kind of opening for just a partial day or something, I think that could be an option to kind of keep it low cost and not really kind of adding a big workload to anyone or kind of trying to keep in mind the efficiencies of adding it.
Mr. Jelski.
I wonder also about 98 South Main. I believe that's likely to be staffed once that's a community center.
Yeah.
But I know we've got a little bit of time, but I also wonder about the senior housing on, I guess it's on technically on West, but I believe that's staffed. I believe there's a Darlene, and you might
Yeah,
know
there's nobody at 98 South Main, but yes, when it is up and running, there should be someone at the senior center, but that would be through housing. But
right.
yeah, there's got to be some creative ways of thinking how to do this to engage people. And thank you for that question, Nora. Because I'm thinking, how do we even advertise? I mean, how do we just keep this in front of people?
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind too, I do like 98 South Main. We hold our cannon bottle redemption events there. And it's incredible to see the amount of foot traffic that comes through there. Also, for the event and just otherwise. And it's, I think, important from like the solid waste and maybe funding for it to kind of also consider that we should have it located in an area where we can get the food scraps out of the waste stream that the city is collecting and paying for.
But go back to the housing authority for a second. Didn't we have a program with the housing authority at one point where we were at least promoting it? And
Sounds familiar, but I'm not sure, Jim, but I think that's something we're gonna look into. But I think that's a good place to start too.
I think that's almost a no-brainer. You got people there, you got staff there on during the day, or at least somebody's around there sometime during the day. We're not talking about massive areas to accumulate the material.
Is
although maybe
Nathaniel
someday
Ely
we will.
staffed at all?
Pardon?
Nathaniel Ely School?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can we do something there maybe?
I mean, but that's the daycare, but there are places. So I think this conversation just sparked some more ideas of how we can get something small started there. But Nathaniel Ely is a place. The housing authority has, and as you said, Nora, their senior housing on the other side of the train station, but also at 20 West. I mean, there are places where you can be a little creative.
Ms.
And
Smith?
it centers around the housing. I'm sorry, and centering around the housing authority.
Okay. Ms. Smith?
Yeah, I mean, the thing I'm thinking that's tricky, you're talking about the cannon bottle drives at 98 South Main. That happens monthly? Or not even, yeah, monthly. But the compost, I mean, that needs to be picked up.
Right.
Weekly, every couple of days, even twice a week.
I honestly would suggest it there, not after the building is there. I wouldn't. I mean,
yeah. So, I mean, I just had a situation where I'd forgotten to take in my bin up to Cranberry Park, and I didn't even want to open the bin. I sent my son with a mask. I was like, "You do it," because it rots pretty fast, and you really have to think about the public health issues around that, So
yeah,
it would be interesting. The Recreation and Parks facility that they just opened up off of Meadow Street. Remember the little extension? I can't think of the name of it.
It's San Francisco, and that's manned enough, I think, that if you wanted to put a site there, I'm sure we could.
Yes.
That's a really interesting idea.
Yeah. I think
that is a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Because I
getting all
believe
this
that there are
down, Tom?
staff that work out of that location every single day.
Right. And it's right behind Rudner Court. I mean, it's in walking distance from a lot of things. Heck, at some point, maybe kids can take things up there. It's just that close. So
yeah.
Right. So you got plenty of suggestions there, Tom. You can start anytime you want.
Yeah, I did write them all down, so I'll definitely, once I get some time this week or next week, I'll do some investigating and see what I can come up with.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else, Tom?
That's it for this month.
Okay, great job. Miss Young, you still have something else?
Absolutely not. I'm sorry.
All right. Mr. Meehan, do you want to hit some of the highlights of, we're getting a little late. Maybe you could just give us the marquee speech on this one.
All right, well, to begin with, regards to all the construction projects themselves, they're listed over here. If anybody has specific questions, I can answer that, but there is one particular project that we should share with the committee. If you look down there, RD 2024-2, curb and sidewalk for various locations. We just found out this afternoon, late this afternoon, shortly before we left, that the contractor is withdrawing his bid.
Oh,
This
great.
project. So I just got the email to make it official from them about an hour ago. So we're looking into various options. Law department is aware of this, as well as purchasing, and so we're pursuing the options. The most convenient option would be to go with the number 2 bidder, but we have to make sure that he's still interested in doing the job. And if so, we would like to proceed and possibly try to move it to council. But we have to verify all factors first, see if the contractor is willing to step in, and if the Public Works Committee is acceptable of this.
Who's the contractor?
That dropped out?
Yeah.
They call it Exceptional Home Improvement. They've never done work for us before, and this is their first time. So I don't really have a lot of experience with them, and so I couldn't tell you if this is something they typically do or not.
Did they tell you why they backing out?
They did. They told me that they told all of us, both the law department and purchasing, as well as engineering, that the person who gave their bid, submitted their bid, was not authorized to do so. I'm not sure why that came up now, but nonetheless, nothing any of us can prove. So we can't force them to do that. The purchase order was not issued, so we're happy about that, because that would send things into different legal matters. But again, as I said, we just found this out late this afternoon. So
they've never done anything with us before. They don't have anything that they're doing with us now.
not with Public Works, not with the engineering department in Public Works. Whether they've done things with building, I don't know.
Is that information passed on to purchasing and
Purchasing was at the meeting at the time, along with law department, when the contractor requested to meet with us in our office this afternoon.
Okay.
So engineering, purchasing, and law department, we were all present when they made the statement.
Okay. Well, it's probably good that we found this out before they started the job and found out that they couldn't do it. Their eyes are, their stomach was bigger than their eyes are bigger than their stomach, I guess.
Yes.
So, okay, good. Well, I guess it's good.
Yeah, can I just add, have you even had a moment to, consider how far this might set you back? I mean, because we're we have to deal with the weather, right? And so
there are, unfortunately, there are a few factors how this could set us back far. One of the problems is that putting in sidewalks has to precede any of our paving. So any sidewalks that we have to go in, any roads that need to be paved, where we're putting in sidewalks ahead of time or curbs, we're going to be delaying that. So we know, at the very least, we were hoping that to get the notice to proceed and actually have them start in a few weeks. But how far this sets us back, is unknown at the moment, because we, again, to the point I made before, it's hard to say, will the second low bidder be willing to take on the project? And if so, what is he's going to have time to mobilize and get everything we're going to have to, we're reaching out to, we will be reaching out tomorrow. So now that we have the official email from them, which came to me when I came home.
How much was the contractor? How much is the contract for?
I don't have that offhand. It was approximately I don't have the actual number. It was approximately $630,000.
$630,000.
I believe so.
Doesn't purchasing take a look at the at the balance sheet of a company like this to
Oh,
see
well,
whether
we,
you've got the
this is our
capacity?
first time with them. We did a due diligence in trying to find out anything about them. Even my own staff, they reached out and said, hey, are you okay with these prices? Are you able to do this? And they've, for all this time, they said yes, but they dropped this in on us today. So
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that does purchasing take a look at the financial background of of a company? $630,000 is a lot of money. And did they, could they post a surety bond on something like that?
they posted all appropriate bonds. Yes,
So they really?
yes.
So if they were able to post a bond, then they would have had the financial wherewithal to do this. I wonder why the real reason is that they didn't get out of here, or they wanted out.
Nothing I could prove, nothing we could say. So we just, rather than try to investigate that, we had to move forward to get this project going.
Yeah, okay. Ms. Najelski, you had a question.
No, I was just gonna say that I remember us actually discussing and the fact that the engineering department had actually cross-checked and checked with them. So I appreciate all the work that you all did, keeping on this, and it is what
Yeah.
it is. So fingers crossed for the second bidder. And I appreciate though.
Thank you.
It'd be interesting to find out the real reason why they backed out of it, because I don't know.
We could speculate, and we have
Yeah.
been, but probably inappropriate to actually speculate when we couldn't prove anything.
Yeah, no, there's no problem.
Just something we're going to remember for next time.
Yeah. All right, anything else?
Well, again, there's several projects over here. If anybody has any questions about any one of them, I'm certainly happy to discuss that.
How about the Eversource? We're not doing that, but the Elizabeth Street overhead utilities are going underground, going under the Norwalk River.
Yeah, that's still a
underneath.
design phase. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I believe it's about 50% complete, but there's still a long
Design
process
phase.
about that.
Yeah, and I believe there's another public hearing on that. Did we just have a public hearing just this past week or something? You know?
I'm not sure. I had to check with the project engineer about that.
Okay. All right, no problem.
If
I
it
think
didn't
I have-
happen recently, it's gonna happen any minute. I know that it was happening,
It's sometime in June, I think. And,
Yeah. maybe.
okay. All right, great. Anybody else have any other comments, anything else they want to bring up? Or any more questions for Mr. Meehan? Okay, are there any motions, any other motions out there? Ms. Najelski-Eitner?
Happy to motion to adjourn.
Oh, all those in favor? Great. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your time tonight.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Right, thank you.